I wanted to give you kind of the real world reaction to the Bronny James thing, which is it's no one in basketball thinks this is a good idea. It's just not, man. It's just not. Like, again, you can take one thing here, one thing there, and go, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, why not, right? Right? And what happens is, I love this defense. And Adam Oslin offered this defense, and I've heard people on television, well, they've had nepotism here, and it's accrued here. Here's a flawed thing. I've heard plenty of, Stephen A. Smith has said this. Well, white people have had nepotism in the NBA. Okay, white people haven't cornered the market on nepotism. Yeah, we haven't. Okay. Again, and here's the problem with really, really inauthentic, stats in debates, and this goes across politics as well. It's like, look, Dwayne Wade bought a G League team, right? He supposedly bought into the Utah Jazz. Really, he just bought the G League team, and I think he bought a 1% or fraction of the Jazz. But he bought a G League team so his son would play in the G League, hoping his son could earn his way to the NBA. His son never played in college. His son's not even playing basketball now. The G League team was completely non-competitive when his son was on them because he's not good. He can't help him win. He's not actually good enough. You can't hide. There's 450 NBA players. The guys in the G League are better than any college players you're going to find. All of them. And they are absolute assassins. You know why? Because they will cut anybody's throat to get into the actual NBA. So please stop with the, nepotism. White people have cornered the market on nepotism. Like, first of all, if you're against nepotism, you're against nepotism. You can't go like, well, it's been good for white. Like, no, it's J.R. Smith's brother was in the G League with the Knicks for a long time. Tried to get him on the Knicks, right? That was, go back then. Obviously, the Antetokounmpos were kind of sort of the laughingstock of the NBA. You put one of them in at the end of the game, like, my God. Like, one would think first ballot Hall of Famer MVP, they would be able to have some sense of being able to play basketball. So please stop with the, and I'm also not a nepotism is always bad. Again, it's if you're good enough, you're prepared enough, if you've done enough for the job, then by all means, you can elevate. You know? There's something different when you grow up and your dad's a pro. You learn how to train with the pros. You look at Steph Curry, right? If you learn what it's like to train, to be a professional athlete, if you grow up in the finance world and that's all you've been about, all you've been a part of your entire life, and then your dad brings you in and elevates you kind of quickly. The same thing with any sort of family business. Again, it doesn't mean that you're going to be a boss or a leader of a company that's as good or better than your mother or father that started it. Okay, but it also doesn't mean you won't be just because you grew up in the family business. I don't believe in absolutes. I don't. It's always interesting to me that many people who rightfully decry stereotypes as awful. Like, why do you stereotype people who grew up in a family business and take over a family business as only getting that job because they're the owner's kids? Sometimes they do. So in and of itself, you say, hey, the Lakers acquire Bronny James. I don't hate it. I don't think he's close to being ready. I think the smarter play would have been for him to play for Duquesne, where one of LeBron's high school teammates and best friends has just become a Division I head coach. He needs to play. He needs to learn to be more of an alpha. He needs to learn to take more shots. He needs to move his way from on the bottom of the scouting report towards the top of the scouting report in college before trying to do the same thing in the NBA. And if LeBron thinks, hey, the better development process is in the G League, well, that's fine. You could make that argument. I actually don't agree with it. I think you need to be a star at your level. And here's the problem. I actually watched Bronny play in high school. I've actually never bought into any of the BS you'll see on recruiting rankings or whatever. And I've been called a hater because I've always been honest and said, like, I'm actually a Division I head men's coach. And if Bronny was on my team, I don't know he would start. I don't know if he would be my starting point guard. The answer is probably not. He would probably have a shot. But I have a wing who's a better player than him. I have a shooter who's a better shooter than him. I have a couple other guys. I have a freshman point guard who has played against him, and I think he's a far better all-around offensive player. I don't think he's as good a defensive player, but I don't think the drop-off's that great. Just telling you, I'm a Horizon League coach. I've had my team for 3 weeks. I would guess Bronny James would fight for a starting spot on my team. If you want to take that as, you're a hater, you can. I'm just telling you the reality to it. I saw him play in high school. He was not a top 10 player in his high school league. Best league in the country, high school league. Okay, so they decided to put, in and of itself, Bronny with the Lakers organization, that doesn't bother me. LeBron leveraging his free agency with it, it's the reality of it. If you have leverage, you can use it. But when you factor in first-time NBA coach who hasn't coached before, and who knows better about that than me, right? When you factor in that most people believe, whether the Lakers want to make you believe it, or JJ does, or LeBron does, like, you're not hiring JJ Redick to be a head coach unless LeBron James champions it and blesses it. We're not all idiots. Okay? You didn't draft his son unless LeBron wanted it to happen. So you didn't hire a head coach because LeBron didn't like how Darvin Ham coached. He liked Darvin the guy, fine. Darvin was not a prep guy, late to his own meetings, not an X and O guy. Just a, hey, let's go out and play hard and then go play harder, which is fine. Just doesn't work for LeBron. Like, LeBron is an over-prep guy. He wants to know everything every other team does, and he wants to have a plan for how to attack it and then a secondary plan. You know, people didn't like Frank. He liked Frank. Why? Because Frank's grew up in the video room. He's kind of a nerd, over-prep guy. That fits there. But you hire a first-time head coach who's never coached before. Your team now is brushing up on the second apron, or actually over the second apron, which really limits what you can do, because you've signed Bronny James to a 4-year guaranteed contract, which hasn't been done before, not the 55th pick. And LeBron, who said he was going to take some sort of discount if you signed the right guys. Yeah, he didn't take any sort of discount. He took the max. Your best players are the oft-injured Anthony Davis, who's a star, the 40-year-old LeBron James, and the only player of value is in terms of trade value, really, is Austin Reeves, who, if you want to get something good, you're going to have to send him packing. You got a point guard who, for the last 2 years, has shown he's not good enough at the top level of the NBA in D'Angelo Russell, and all you're doing is running that one back. And meanwhile, you're fighting for Bronny to be on the roster. And if LeBron is that responsible for JJ getting the job, and again, part of getting that job and making it work is you can't hire somebody that LeBron isn't in on. Because if LeBron shuts down on you, you're done. But what we've seen from LeBron on his Twitter handle, on his reactions, on his beliefs, is he thinks Bronny's an NBA player. Now. Take his own words for it. Then you hear JJ say this at the press conference.
Rob and I did not give Bronny anything. Bronny has earned this. Bronny talks about his hard work. Bronny has earned this through hard work. And for us, prioritizing player development, we view Bronny as like case study 1, because his base level of feel, athleticism, point of attack defender, shooting, passing, there's a lot to like about his game. And as we sort of build out our player development program holistically, he's going to have a great opportunity to become an excellent NBA player.
Yeah, so again, I'll translate the word salad there, okay, with a lot of basketball terms. Okay, like we think he can do it all. Here's the thing, JJ. I've watched Bronny play, and if he in fact can do it all, no one's ever actually seen it. No one's actually ever seen it. There have been instances. Right? Yes, he can jump. That's actually not overall athleticism. Laterally, he's just okay. He's smallish. He's not a point guard. He's not. And by the way, like people are like, well, his defense. Okay, when you're 6'1.5" in the NBA, okay, it means, and you're not a point guard, but even if you are, you're having to guard the best players on earth. Right? And if you aren't initially checking them, trust me, you will match up with them because most teams switch 1 through 4. They're going to find you. And when you say a prospect who's hasn't shown, even in high school, the ability to dominate a game offensively at any statistical category, you should see his defense. It's like saying, hey, I want you to go out with this girl. She's got a great personality. That's what it is. It doesn't mean defense isn't important. It is really important. You're never going to get onto a basketball floor if you're anything other than a superstar if you can't guard anybody in high school, in college, in the pros. But telling us that he's earned it, that's like me saying I earned my position as head coach of Wisconsin Green Bay. I know I didn't earn anything. I have to earn people's respect based upon how I run a program, how my team plays, and hopefully how many games we win. But I'm not so arrogant to ever let somebody say, like, you know what, he's earned this because he spent 21 years in the media and his dad was a coach and he coached AAU and he coached in TBT and he coached overseas. Like, that's not really earning it. I'm not an idiot. But all you're doing, and JJ's, what he's trying to say is like, hey, we're going to develop him. If you're going to develop him, send him to the G League. That's what that league is for. If you're in the NBA, you're just doing workouts. You're not doing practice. And I get it. Like, LeBron really believes you can develop him through these workouts. He's done these workouts his whole life. How has that developmental process helped? The other part to it is, and this is like comical, I'm not like it. No one's holding against him the fact that he had a heart attack a year ago. Is it amazing that he's come back from it and now he's able to play in the NBA? Yes, of course. But there's been plenty of other players that have suffered cardiac. There's been other players who suffered cardiac arrest. They're all on the do not draft list. Nobody wants that, let alone give him a 4-year guaranteed contract. Like, what? I mean, just all of this is just bowing to the whims of LeBron. And we had Adam Oslin on last hour, and I thought he said something which is completely true, where, for a long time, Los Angelinos didn't view LeBron as a Laker. They still don't. LeBron plays for the Lakers. He's not a Laker. It's a Kobe Bryant town. Why? Because no matter what you think of Kobe Bryant, because I'll just be honest, there was a lot of times in Kobe's NBA career, I didn't like him as a player. I thought he was selfish. He was arrogant. Remember, there was a bunch of different stages to Kobe. There was the early Kobe who was trying to prove himself, who walked and talked like Michael Jordan. Then there was the Kobe trying to pretend that he was hood. Okay. Then there was the defiant Kobe with Shaq when that thing went bad, right? And then the last, really right around when he tore his Achilles, and after that, he became just this incredibly well-rounded individual that everybody's like, dude, that guy's awesome. He completely gets it. And a lot of that is the evolution of all of us as men. Like, we all kind of grow up from, at some point, we have some sort of arrogance, search for who we are, and then we finally figure it out. You get to your 30s and your 40s, and you have kids, and you're like, I was such a you-know-what back then. So that's what Kobe went through. But Kobe didn't want anybody to hand out anything. Definitely didn't want anybody to give give a sibling, one of his kids, a guaranteed contract. I mean, nothing could be further from how people view. And again, it's a romantic view because he tragically passed in a helicopter accident. We don't know, what he would be like now, what his level of investment in LeBron would be like now. Kobe handled it really well. Even the night before when, LeBron called Kobe, like he handled it really, really well. So maybe Kobe would be down with this plan because, of course, he coached Gianna, his daughter, and he formed that program. We were running a kind of a brother program across the 73 at the same time. Like maybe he would view it differently because he coached his daughter and he wanted great things from Gianna. But man, I just, for a town that loves Kobe Bryant, for a town that has always been in love with Magic Johnson, the LeBron James who had one great championship season in the bubble and a bunch of other messes of seasons, at the end of it to have the head coach that he put in place to be the head coach say, yeah, he's totally earned it. How? Well, it's hard work. Come on, man. What are we doing here? So the other 150 draft prospects that have accomplished actually more on a basketball floor, who check a lot more of the boxes, who are more ready to play and would take less money and would need a 4-year guaranteed contract, they haven't worked hard? Come on, man. Like, what are we talking about? I understand. Okay, JJ thinks we can develop him. That's what he said. When he talks about developmental program, we can develop him. Maybe. But saying that he still has to develop would say that he's not close to being ready now, would also point to a contradiction in terms in that he's earned it. How? Why would you say that? And the only reason you would say that is, and look, you also had Bronny himself saying, I never thought about playing with my dad. Like, what? You're just lying to people's faces when they know it to be the truth. If you just tell somebody the actual truth right away, right to their face, yeah, like, look, his dad is one of the greatest players of all time. And JJ has said he thinks LeBron's the greatest player of all time. We think his son is going to develop into a smaller version of that. He's not there yet. We want to develop him. I don't think anybody would sit there and go like, apple trees make apples. Maybe he's going to be a late bloomer as a basketball player. He hasn't got that opportunity. He had the heart attack. Like, why can't I get to that? When you sit there and go like, I never thought about playing with my dad, when his dad was saying it forever. When the agent says, we're not doing a two-way contract. When the team gives him a 4-year guaranteed contract, nobody gets that late in the second round. Nobody gets that in the second round. When the coach says he's earned it, are you trying to make us hate LeBron James?